everybody? It is Rocco, your boy's disembodied voice, because my camera's being funky, coming at you with another Age of Sigmar video. But why did my camera choose now to be funky, dear viewer? Well, now listener. Because it needs the whole screen to go and show you all the stuff that we're hyped about for 4th edition. That's right, we have, the time of recording this, probably like 2.5, 3 months until the big reveal of everything and we get our books and new models and we're all out there in July. But, I want to share, out of all these articles and everything, what I'm excited about so far. So the cinematic trailer was amazing, but that isn't going to be number one. Number one, I like that they're changing the army compositions. Yep, this is going to be maybe a little bit controversial, but this lovely article about how building your army has changed has me excited. Having troops locked to your hero choices allows for some interesting building in which now the heroes that we take are the taxes, and now foot heroes might honestly have more of a purpose. You want to unlock some Alorith troops? You need to go bring the mage. You want to do the Hurricane Wind Riders as part of your new regiment where you your hero and you get your stuff? Then you got to go and pick into it. You got to tech into it. You have to be, dare I say, narrative and fluffy in your army design to build a strong army? Crazy, sacrilege. Not in my Warhammer. Well, dear viewer, now it is. Also, this is really similar to a game system called Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings, who's implemented this system for years now, and their players love it. It's cool, honestly. It's just cool. Again, they gave that example, and also they say with the composition thing, you can still take units outside of your regiments. This allows for allies being regiments of renown, even. Yeah, somehow Games Workshop worked back in the Dogs of War. Not in fantasy, not in the old world, but in Age of Sigmar, and that's really freaking cool. And also this whole system of, now we know that, command points are going to be more scarce, and if you have less drops than your opponent, or in this case, less auxiliaries. Let's see, auxiliaries offer a way to pick additional units for your faction outside of the confines of regiment. No limits, but there's still a cost. Each auxiliary unit to play one at a time. Play with the fewest auxiliaries on their roster gets one extra command point. There you go. So, build your stuff fluffy, get rewarded with command points. That's crazy. That's wonderful. That gets us to move on to my next favorite thing here, which is I like that in this new edition, they've redone the War Scrolls. They've redone them in such a way that it even works for people who, they color-coded stuff, but they also have it with symbols so that if you're colorblind, you can still figure it out, which is nice. They've condensed a lot of the profiles instead of having a bajillion rules on a War Scroll. Like for this Liberators one right here. That's nice. Also, the color coding to go with all of the lovely turn phases for the new thing. They got rid of Battle Shock, and we're probably going to have some new way to go about it if this goes off of 40k without they have objective control counters, and we do too, which is really cool. 30 of these units score here as a passive, so a unit of 5 Liberators counts as 8 models on an objective. We know the objectives got smaller. It'll be a 3-inch circle of control instead of a 6-inch. We know we have some new changes here, but I like the updates to War Scrolls and how we have them more easily done with the turn phases and the ability icons. Then we get to this teaser of a War Scroll in Nagash, who's either been way too expensive points wise or just doesn't do enough or does too much and you're scared of everything. Hand of Dust lived. My dog is very excited. Oh, Petey. We have stuff that's also listed in your hero phase, not just the hero phase. We have these things where if it's battle damage, passive abilities that happen. Passive abilities here with the casting rolls. We also have a nice thing with these universal keywords and the universal special rules. That, again, I'm a fan of Age of Sigmar, sure, but I also play 40k. I also play the old world. I played Fantasy back in the day. Having 20 names that are faction specific for a ward save is silly to me when we could just be saying, yeah, it's a ward save. That's what we do at the table anyway. Like, oh yeah, I've got a 5-up ward, faith through fire, whatever it is, and I've got to feel no pain, I've got this, I've got that. All this is doing is just codifying how everyone's been playing anyway with universal special rules, just being the proper name for a thing. We're going to get a little section of the book. It's going to be like 3 pages, 4 pages in the rule book at most, and we'll be fine. I'm excited about this, and hopefully you are too, because this is the other thing too, with the changes so far we've talked about. This makes the game more approachable to new people. Like, oh, cool. I don't have to ask a bajillion questions on what's your rules. We all have the same rules. Not every model will have every rule, but we all have the same list of rules to learn in these universal special rules. I understand that Ward is going to have the bracket to be a 5-up, to know that that's what you need to roll. Wizard 9, we're going to find out more of what that is. I'm going to assume that's the power level thing. So it'll be like you have 9 spells you can cast, and that affects when it's battle damage, it'll go down to 6. I think that's really cool. I think Hand of Dust being a monstrous rampage is nice. I think that we're in a good spot here. Let me go down to the bottom here. Choose your side. We're going to end up looking at this too and then go on to battle traits, which I'm very excited about because my Stormcast are getting teased. Now listen. Okay, I've spoken on a podcast even about how much the Stormcast range getting cut down hurt. But at the same time, the new model, they only teased like 2 models, and it already looks cool. And these new rules that, again, make sense for Stormcast, they seem nice. We don't have the whole picture of everything. I don't know if Finest Hour being a Stormcast specific thing once per turn, per unit, is going to really matter. I can only use it on my turn, in my hero phase, to be aggressive and do whatever. Science of the Storm is here in a new version of whatever. But I do know that these battle formations, I'm excited about. So, what this is going to be, again, from experience with how they had 40Ks roll out with 10th edition, is, and like they say here, it's going to replace sub-factions. It's going to be, hey, pick this formation for your army, and it's going to give you X, Y, and Z rule. And then you're going to be like, well, Storm hosts, like the Hammers of Sigmar, like fighting in this battle formation. That is great. You do not have to think that you need to be called Hammers of Sigmar to fight as a Hammer of Sigmar now. They all fight like this. They all fight like that. What's going to end up happening is there was a subset of Warhammer players in general who are like, well, if I'm going to play my guys Astral Templars, I need to paint them as Astral Templars, or else then that's just ruining the fun and immersion for me. This removes that generally viewed as self-imposed restriction to just have fun. We're playing with little plastic toys running at each other and making, charging noises and little poo-poos with our guns and roaring and screaming "Wog" if you're an orc player, blood for the blood god, skull for the skull throne. These battle formations are a good change in that direction of fun. And more specifically, because they messed this up with 40K, is you only generally got one formation until your codex came out, right? Because that's the other thing with all this too, is we're starting off the new edition with indexes. It's gonna be, everyone's allegedly gonna be balanced against each other. We're all gonna, for like 3 months or so until the first battle tomes drop, be on an even playing field. Everyone's gonna get new rules. Everyone's gonna get updated to everything. And generally, it's a really fun free-for-all to find out what the pecking order is of what factions here, there, or not. But the thing was that kind of kneecapped 10th edition a bit was you lost your creativity because a lot of factions didn't have options. Like my Eldar, for example, only ever had one thing, and it turned out to be really good. And it got nerfed a bunch of times, and it's still really good. But we only got one thing. I can't go and be like, hey, this white dwarf said I can play Altansar like I could in 9th and add in this extra stuff. But on release, we're getting 4 functional sub-factions functionally in these battle formations for each faction. That's freaking huge. We're actually going to get options. We're going to actually have more fun. And that is something to be excited about. And also, if we're going to, oh my gosh, bringing back the Thunderhead host, the Synchronized Strikes, the Lightning Echelon being in here is a cool thing. And also, the new Stormcast model that dropped. I wasn't gonna go and talk about it, but I gotta go back here. I gotta go. I know. Yeah. Shirtless fanatics. Blah blah. Chaos Marauders. Oh my goodness, they're so scary. Look at this dude. Or gal. I don't know. They're wearing a helmet. Couldn't tell you. Look at this freaking awesome badass hero with this huge freaking axe. The shield. This is just giving me all kinds of excitement. It's not a Hammer of Sigmar. We're seeing Stormcast in a different color armor. Oh, man. You got a little human priest that we've seen in all of the artwork following these Stormcast around. Just, It's so good. These Reclusians. I feel like that's got to be like an inside joke too. Somehow, some way, it's gonna be a pun or something. Also, I do like I like the idea of this little blurb of war. And I was upset my Sacrosanct Chamber army is gone, but with this line, the Reclusians take up arms that are accompanied by mortal priests called Memorians, often direct descendants of the Stormcast Eternal themselves. They are an anchoring presence for the Reclusians, ensuring that their precious humanity that grounds them does not slip away in battle. You know what happens when the Stormcast loses their shred of humanity? They just kill everything. This is awesome. This is the new armor. It makes sense with the lore. It gives more depth to Stormcast. And I can't wait to see, honestly, by the time this comes out, some new Skaven thing's going to be out. And I'm just excited for it. And you should be too. And that's not to say I'm not going to play out 3rd edition. I've got a tournament this weekend coming up. That'll probably be around the time this episode comes out. I'm going to a GT. It's going to be a lot of fun. But this has given me a lot of excitement and hope for the future. And you know what? It's pretty freaking cool to me. So be nice, roll some dice, get out there, have some fun. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already to expand the channel. If you have questions going in, because I know when 4th edition comes, I'm going to redo all the guides. Probably except the How to Play Tabletop Simulator one, because that one's just there. That one was made to just be perfect. I love it so much. We'll just start pumping out new content immediately, which will be really fun. So, thank you all for watching. And until next time, bye.